welcome. Thank you for coming to this session. We just had a previous session that talked about the actual product itself, Supply Chain Orchestrator as a product. What this is a continuation to be able to say, okay, this is where, I have it broken down to like 3 sections. So it's going to be where we position ourselves in the market from a business challenge or use cases perspective, if you will, why we are differentiated in the market, and then some use cases of where we're doing it, how we hold like discovery sessions and whatnot. So the intent really is, Ming and I have been with Annie, we've been working on this, and we had a GA on this particular product because of some of the advancements that we've done, but we've had, and you'll see a slide where we're doing quite a bit of sales throughout the world, but Ming and I feel that we can easily double and triple the sales that we're doing by talking to people like you, because the supply chain is definitely a horizontal, and it crossed all verticals, and I took some slices of verticals that we're doing business with and talking to. So it's intended to be very interactive, if you will, and let's see what we can do to help out at some point. So just a little bit of a market analysis. I just have 2 slides here. So IDC, in fact, Simon Ellis, he heads up global supply chain and manufacturing. He will be at the keynote tomorrow. And I stole this from his deck. And what it is it just gives you where the supply chain market is going over the next few years. He has it going out to 2027. And it's across, I've been doing supply chain for over 25 years. I've been at InterSystems for about 1.5 years now. And Ming came on at the exact same time. And so he also has a lot of supply chain experience. So we truly feel that it doesn't matter, life sciences, pharmaceuticals, medical devices, retail, manufacturing, the issues are the same. And there's 2 particular issues that we're going to excel at. There's an interesting, you see here by 2026 of the global 2,000 companies, that 45% will be having integrated sustainability. And integrated sustainability really plays well into what we have. We call it our control tower, the ability to manage disruptions and be able to help offset those disruptions in a more predictive, prescriptive way. And then the second one, which is by 2025, so right around the corner, 75% of supply chains will invest in applications to be able to create the connect disparate supply chain planning data. So Ming and I are hoping that 75% is all InterSystems, but it's a big number if you look at it. So this is Gartner's slide. So Gartner's slide has that it will increase rapidly, and it does have a nice overlay to what IDC said. Same thing in 2025, especially pharmaceuticals is really looking to modernize their legacy systems. And then the spend is going to be about $32 billion in spend. And then what are the key areas? So visibility, orchestration, and decision making, which ties in well to our title of the product, right? So InterSystems Supply Chain Orchestrator. And it happens to be exactly where we're focusing in on around the world. So we truly feel that there's 3 areas that we're having an impact and will continue to have an impact with the product. So demand sensing and forecasting, we're going to be all about helping to optimize, and the next slide will help with this, the solutions or the applications themselves. And what I mean by that is that you have where's the gentleman we were just talking to, Project 44 in 2009, and Kinaxis and SAP and whatnot. They all have some sort of demand and supply forecasting, demand planning. And what we do is a lot of companies are coming to us, and I'll give you an example, that they just can't quite get to that 20% of that final gap that needs to be optimized. Supply chain orchestration is key. We came up with, I think, a kind of a unique way of saying that we see, we understand, we optimize, and then we act. A lot of companies will get to see and understand, but we truly optimize and act. And then optimized fulfillment is, if you think about it, that's really cross-vertical or horizontal play, is how do we manage all the way to the supplier, all that disruption. So, typical clients that we work with had 3,000 suppliers. Then they have their own manufacturing. Then they have all their logistics providers. And then they have all their own applications. We were talking to two companies a couple weeks ago at the Gartner Supply Chain Summit, and then also at the Generis event. One company had 64 enterprise systems. Another one had 32 enterprise systems. And then you add in applications. No wonder why they can't optimize fulfillment, because they can't bring all that disparate data in and optimize it. They can't harmonize and normalize it. Everything that we've been talking about here at the Global Summit, right? That's what we do. That's what the Smart Data Fabric is all about. And we do it very well. What I want to show, so this is, to me, it kind of depicts how we're different, is that all those systems I just mentioned to you, all of you use these companies in some way on the left-hand side. What we do is that we create this connected tissue to bring it all together, sense disruption in real time, and then be able to move you to more predictive and prescriptive insights to be able to optimize a KPI or business outcome. And what we do is that we can either push it to the line of business. That seems to be a really big one for us, is that because of COVID-19, there's been so much disruption, loss of tribal knowledge for being able to make real-time decisions accurately. And so we have one company, retail, I won't mention who it is, I believe the merger goes together, one of the largest in the country, is that they want us to feed disruptions to the line of business so that they can make more real-time decisions, but accurately. Anybody can make a real-time decision, but is it the right one? And we're going to give you examples of what we do to get to that. And then we can push data back into enterprise systems. In fact, we can't say it yet. I wish so much we could have said who the company was, but hopefully the next Global Summit we can. It's an F&B 100 food and beverage. We just had a real issue with the SAP being able to optimize production sequencing. So we came in, we put it on our supply chain optimizer, or orchestrator, sorry, and optimized the fulfillment going into production sequencing with tremendous value in 6 weeks. 6 weeks. So now the reason why I can't mention it is because we're in negotiations of rolling it out to the rest of the business unit. So it's a really big deal for us, right? SAP can't do it. They've never been able to achieve it through the work that they've been doing with many of the different types of consulting firms and whatnot. So we're really proud of what we can do. And it's around repackaging production sequencing. But many companies say, look, help us around WMS and TMS and ERP business outcome optimization. A lot of 3PLs use us in their systems. They run on our system. They run on the Supply Chain Orchestrator. MSC, one of the largest shipping container companies in the world, operating platform is InterSystems technology. SPAR, right, one of the largest grocery consortiums in Europe, runs on our technology to be able to help with grocery replenishment at every store. And they use it in heavy users of ML to be able to figure out when there's, right down to bakery goods, why can we get more bakery goods that will be able to impact better shelf availability of product. So it's pretty cool. Ultimate control tower, you can think of us as a control tower, accelerated time to decision, and then obviously near perfect on time in full. So why are we different? We talk to so many companies, they'll say, well, IBM can do this, or SAP can do this. Well, it's interesting. So a couple facts. Number one is, like I just said, there's 64 enterprise systems in a company. Of course SAP can't do it because that's not what they do. They don't optimize data from 63 other operating systems, plus the applications, plus vendors, manufacturers, and end customer. But what we do that's really different, and Ming can speak to this also, is that a lot of times these companies that we compete against have like 5 different products to do this. We're one product with 4 key technology capabilities working at the same time. So we can create consistent data. We harmonize and we normalize from any source, any disparate source, anywhere along that supply chain continuum. but we're bringing it in at rest. So we're not another data warehouse, another data lake. We're bringing it in at rest and using it on demand when we need. It allows us to scale very quickly. It's low cost. But we bring in intelligent processes through interoperability. So we simulate business process flows in real time into the platform. And then we have actionable insights, which is around advanced analytics. So heavy use when needed of AI and ML to be able to help us make those prescriptive insights to manage the business. And all four of those are working together simultaneously as one product. And that's why, like with this Fortune 100 company, it doesn't have to be, I mean, it could be any size company, but we can provide value in literally 6 weeks. You know, there's very few competitors that can provide value in 6 weeks. The next slide is we hear so much about our data fabric. You know, you talk to Gartner, you talk to Forrester, you know, pretty much people will say, yeah, we're using the first two supply chain data sources. Okay, that doesn't really change. Data fabric, everybody knows about data fabric. But where we excel differently is really what we call the smart data fabric. So maybe, Ming, just a couple thoughts of how we differentiate at that point.
Sure, thanks, Mark. So Mark just mentioned how can we x-ray the procedure from data to value, right? So if you think about from pure technical perspective, how do you get raw data from the original source all the way to the decision-making process by leveraging those data? Take many, many steps. And a lot of times, if you do the traditional way, Mark mentioned IBM because he knew I was a former IBMer. I have done a lot of those implementations myself. It will take many different products. And along the way, you have to move your data from one system to another, from one schema to a different schema, whether you are doing transactional, you know, OLAP schemas, or data scientists will like something different. So there's a lot of things you need to do to make that thing happen. So we are not the only company who can do it, but we are the ones who can do it real fast. Why? Two key factors. One, each one of these things you see there, they all work together seamlessly on one data platform. So you don't have to worry about how do I connect technology A, pipeline A to pipeline B, and so on. So they just work together on the same data platform. More importantly, because we're talking about what? Data. Data can flow from one thread to the next without extra effort you need to put on. Whether this service requires transactional data or some star schema for analytics or another form to feed into your ML model. You don't have to worry about ETL transformations along the way. Data can flow from one to the next to the next. So that's how we help people achieve the X-ray time to value.
Excellent. Thank you, Ming. All right, so just a little bit of an overview of what we're doing in sales. And so we, just a little over 16 million in sales across all the different regions. And the reason why that Ming and I wanted to show this slide is because so many of you, you're so used to healthcare and what we do, but what do we do outside of healthcare and outside of the region within North America? Ming and I spend a lot of time in Europe. In fact, we're going back over again based on already going over there, but a very interesting as a use case. So it was a CFO, we met last night. The CFO, she manages 13 different hospitals within the UK, and she says, I have a significant issue around visibility to my inventory. I don't know where it's at. I needed to bring it into the hospitals, but I can't because I don't have the ability to know where it's at anywhere from the supply point. Maybe there's stuff that's sitting with a carrier. Maybe it's even stuff coming in sitting at the port. Maybe it's in their own warehouse. And so what we do, and that's what we do, that's actually a great use case. I said to her, why don't we just bring it in, show you visibility in the control tower, and then let us then help you manage it so that you can attain, which we have a video of what we're doing with a company in Japan, near perfect 99.999% on-time fulfillment. And we do it across different types of verticals. So logistics 3PL happens to be right now about 55% of that 16 million, retail wholesale. And then if we go down, we have interesting aerospace, which is in during the keynote this morning. which is the European Space Agency, along with mining energy. And then we have healthcare, only 5%. Why is healthcare just 5%? Hopefully when we present again, next Global Summit, it'll be like 30%. So I think it's just very easy, just like the conversation that we had with her last night. It's an easy sell. You're already on InterSystems Iris. It's not like you have to do a lot of different. And I'm going to give you examples of what Ming and I do when we go out to clients, and then we work with their different teams, cross-functional teams, to be able to say, okay, this is what we can do and where we can help. I'm going to have Ming talk a little bit about this, and also part of the keynote tomorrow is UST. So UST is a $2 billion systems integrator. They wanted the ability to take their UST opt-in product, which is a supply chain optimization as a service. It is, they have use cases, so they impact these six use cases, and they are now running on the InterSystems Supply Chain Orchestrator. So they built their product 2 months. They put it onto our platform, and now they're running for those use cases. But Ming, is there anything that I missed? Like, one would be good is why? Why InterSystems when they were looking at Amazon? They had it down to 2 companies, InterSystems and Amazon.
Yeah, sure. So this company deal with a lot of SAP accounts. And as we all know, in this area, SAP have all kind of fancy, very expensive solutions that sometimes solve the problem, sometimes it may not totally solve the problem for them, even though with a lot of expense. So what they're looking for is there a way that we can bring some of these technology solutions quickly to some clients who cannot afford that kind of expensive SAP optimization solutions and still get a lot of value out of it. And that's how they look into Amazon, among other things, because there's a golden opportunity out there. If it takes 2 years to do it, they're going to miss a boat. So really, how can we quickly bring some solution to the marketplace and to solve these kind of optimization problems? And they look at us, among others, and they saw the value, what we offer. Not only we understand all the supply chain, so they don't have to worry about building a supply chain data model, for example. And also, we can have all the optimization engines running together with raw data and let you configure. As we all know, optimization is not like you pick algorithm and solve all the problems. You really have to understand what type of optimization you're trying to solve and then configure with the right solver, with the right things to really get the value out of it. And then we give them all that flexibility that they were looking for to solve a solution like that. And also, by doing our stuff, we provide the abstraction layer. So a solution built on this can solve SAP client problems, can solve Oracle clients problems, can solve other problems because we provide the abstraction, semantic data layer, among other things. So that's why they picked us to really bring this solution to the marketplace in a very, very short time period.
Great, thank you. And then the next one is this. I just want to give an example. I won't go into too much because I know Chris Bolta is going to go into this tomorrow. So here's a real account that we're working with. So Fender, the guitar, the high-end guitar manufacturer. And so Fender is based on UST opt-in, which is based on our technology. So kind of cool. So as I'm going through these, I'm really trying to give you some ideas of where can it apply in your business. I want you to leave today and say, wow, what is an idea that maybe I could use, what our technology already is that you are using, right? So there's a lot of creativity that you can do to be able to use the technology. I have the next one, what I want to do, it's a video. And it's a video of one of our customers that we've had for a fair amount of time, based in Japan. It's one of the largest distributors and wholesalers of over-the-counter drugs and cosmetics in Japan. And the executive that's going to give you this, he's going to talk about it. So it's in Japanese, so if you can speak Japanese or interpret Japanese, perfect. But that has subtitles. But I really want you to look at it because he talks about what he has achieved through our technology that Ming and I and Annie have been talking about.
パルタックは美と健康、そういった関連商品をフルラインで扱う中間流通業です。年間で35億個の 商品を出荷しております。日本で言いますと国民1人当たり35個を提供するような出荷量になります。ローコストで常に必要な時に必要なものを必要なだけ提供できるシステムを構築していくということが最終的な目標になります。インターシステムズさんとは30年以上のお付き合いをしています。アイリスは DX を推進していく中で一番重要な主軸であるというふうに考えています。パルタックの倉庫では人ができる作業を全てロボットに置き換えていっています。インターシステムズのシステムを使ってですね、インターフェースデータをそのロボットと膨大なデータのやり取りを行っています。生産性は従来の2倍、それから売上については計画以上の数値を叩き出しています。世の中の変化に対応できる仕掛けを作りたいというふうに考えています。それにはアイリスが主軸を担うシステムであるというふうに考えています。
Great. In fact, she's Win Lindsay, so she's from Japan, and Ming and I are going to be going over there at the end of October. And you know, the reason why this is so important is that all those robotics and everything that you saw there are theirs. And it's based on our technology, because just think about it, to be able to run, especially in COVID, to run an entire distribution center as large as that is with all that robotics, that data has to be extremely accurate, on time, every second of every day, 24/7. So the same thing that we do in healthcare to keep patients alive, well, think about the same of what we're doing to keep cosmetics flowing and over-the-counter drugs flowing to all the major retailers that are in Japan. So it's a pretty cool example of how we're using the technology that we've been talking about. So this one here, I'm going to let Ming talk about this one because there's only like 3 slides left. So here's another use case that goes into yet another use case, but it's all around, again, it's UST. UST decided also to put their Omni product and build it on our InterSystems Supply Chain Orchestrator technology. And this is all around being able to not only just have visibility, because they wanted to compete against Project 44 and 4 Kites, and they wanted to be able to say, look, visibility is okay, but you guys have been around for 45 years, as Terry talked about. You're privately held, which is a big deal to them, because they don't want, there's so many companies that are starting to lay off. The customer expectations haven't been as high as they should be. And as you heard from Terry this morning, we're going to continue to be privately held. And we're always going to put, you know, every one of you and your end customers always at the forefront of making sure that we're successful. But it's the AI-driven aspect of this that we were able to do very quickly. Why? Because what I said earlier, it's already embedded in the product. We have one company, and I want Ming to talk a little bit more about this, but we have one company, existing customer, that was in Ireland, also a distributor, very much like Home Depot. And they were going out to looking at AI companies, 4 or 5 different AI vendor companies. And I said, why? I was talking to the chief supply chain officer. Why? You already have it. It's embedded in the product. And what was he trying to do? He said, trying to improve demand forecasting. So it's very easy, to show that we have everything built in. So Ming, just maybe this one and the next one. So maybe I'll show the next one at the same time. And just maybe tie in UST and prescriptive insights.
Sure. Let's start with the first slide. So this is application that UST developed to help their clients to better manage the risks in their logistics side of the supply chain. So you can think of this as a risk chain management solution, not only providing the visibility to different type of shipment, particularly multi-leg, multi-mode shipment, right? Shipment have to be trucked, delivered, and then container, ship, rail, and all these things. How do you track your goods, your container shipment through that kind of process? No easy task, right? We all learned from the COVID days. And they want to provide a solution to their users that can provide those kind of detailed information so they can make a real-time decision when something unexpected happens. Now, getting information is one thing. They also want to take to the next step, saying, once I identify one of my container ship is stuck at the port, what should I do? So for some of you who attended the earlier meetings that Annie demonstrated some of the use case is similar like that. I'll give another example. So this is one of their customers, the real scenario. They have one of the customers, a big box company. I don't know how we call it, right?
I think we can say it's Costco.
Yeah. So if they receive like a container shipment, right, which arrived 2 days early, that's a big disruption to their supply chain, right? So they have to see, from warehouse, from the space, and then from neighbors, and from many other things, can they actually receive that container shipment, right? Or should they park it in the yard somewhere? Do they have even room to park in the yard? Or maybe they will refuse to receive it, or doing some extra overnight shift, some other things, which then you're going to have to bring in what? You have to bring in the warehouse management information, the yard management solution, your labor management. You want to know the neighbor, right? Do you have those receiving dock labor available to do these things? So they looking for building a solution on their own, and they estimate how many millions dollars to do that?
They're looking at about 1.2
Yeah.
million.
So over $1 million project, and then take about a couple of years to do it. And once they learn what Iris for supply chain, our supply chain orchestrator can do, and we can do it in weeks, maybe months at most, definitely not years. It's not going to cost them $1 million or more like that. And they make the decision. They already started this program, and then they decided to shift report application to our InterSystems Supply Chain Orchestrator. And in a few weeks, they can demonstrate the value to their clients. And we're providing not only the end-to-end visibility, they can also see maybe the next slide. We provide the prescriptive actionable insight. So that's what they're really striking for to differentiate what service they provide versus what Project 44 or 4Kite or some of those other vendors provide is a big differentiator by the prescriptive analytics result that help people to make intelligent decisions based on real-time data.
Thank you. Yeah, and Annie showed this from a technology. I'm not going to go into the technology back end of it, but Annie showed in the previous session how this worked behind the scenes. Just really one more slide here, and this is it. We can open up for Q&A. So when you leave today, I just want you to leave to know, just think a little bit broader around what InterSystems can do from a technology standpoint. It doesn't matter what vertical that you're in, right? It's a horizontal play. The business challenges are going to be pretty much the same, but the use cases may be a little bit different, right? Business challenges the same, use cases a little different. But just think of us, it's one platform. You see the third bullet point is so important, is that we don't rip and replace. When I was presenting at the Gartner Supply Chain Symposium about 3 weeks ago, it's kind of fun. I mean, Ming and I have fun because we're not going into a company to rip and replace and just say bad things about SAP and Oracle. They're all good companies. All the companies we mentioned are good companies. They just can't quite optimize to the point that we can optimize. But we work with them to do it. So like even that F&B 100 that I was talking about, it's going to be pushed back into SAP again. All of it gets pushed back in. It goes back into one of the modules, replenishment module, forecasting module, order replenishment module. It gets pushed back in. And that's what Ming and Annie and his team are working on, is how do we, which we have. That's why you saw, and if you were in the previous session, supply chain framework. All those APIs are being built out, either are built out or being built out. And that's why you will see Chris Bilthoff tomorrow. He runs the SAP practice for UST. He's going to give you an example of what he's doing with us, with our technology in the market. APIs I just talked about, and then we grow at your own pace. That's why I like Peltech. You saw what Peltech is doing. I mean, they didn't do that overnight, right? You saw that we've been a customer for 30 years. They just didn't, 30 years ago, the technology we have today certainly didn't even exist. But everything that we've just been talking about over the last 40 minutes here has been all of that embedded technology that's moving us to the ability to have the embedded interoperability workflow, the embedded analytics around AI and ML, so we can get to prescriptive insights. That is also what they're doing with us. So that allows them to get to that 99.999, which isn't easy to do. And we've been working with them for a very long time. Any supply chain digital transformation, typically from the top down, is 5 to 8 years. And we can come in at the beginning of it, or we can come in the middle of it, or we can come in at the end of it. It doesn't matter to us. We're there to work with the end customers, the end clients, the partners, to help them optimize their supply chain. Thank you. So I'm asking for your use cases, but you don't obviously have to do that. But the point is while you're here over the next couple of days, let's talk more about it. And then obviously anytime, follow up with your account executive, right? If you're already an existing customer, talk to your account executive, or give Ming and I a call. I'd be more than happy to talk to you and do what we're doing with some of these other clients to just think of the art of the possible. Any questions? We can do it now, or you can leave 11 minutes early. Okay, you can leave 11 minutes early. Thank you.
Thank you.